Hey guys, welcome back to Indie Game Hustle. In today's video, we're going to walk you through UModeler Gen 3D tool. It's very similar to our last video, but this time we're using Tripo AI. Now, Tripo AI is a leading 3D generation tool that produces amazing outputs. UModeler X Gen 3D lets you generate your 3D models directly inside the Unity editor, but this time it's powered by the Tripo AI API. That means you don't have to jump over to a separate website. You don't have to go and download those assets and then re-import them back into your project. Instead, you can just stay right in Unity, type out a text prompt, upload an image, and the tool will instantly create your high quality 3D model right in your scene. Now, I played just a little bit with Tripo and I found that the models come out with great geometry, realistic textures, and provide export ready formats. So they're immediately usable for prototyping, level design, or even final production. Now with Tripo AI, you're getting some of the most advanced 3D generation available today, but now it's seamlessly integrated into your Unity workflow. Now for indie developers, this is a huge step forward. It cuts down on the friction between idea and execution. You don't have to leave your editor. You don't have to juggle with multiple tools. You can just generate, test, iterate on your assets in real time inside the same environment you're building for your game. Now in today's video, we're going to dive into the UModeler Gen 3D tool and explore how it works with the Tripo AI and just put it to the test. Now I got a few images I want to convert into 3D models. I've seen and heard that Tripo is producing some of the best. So what we're going to do is check it out and see how they turn out. All right, cool. So what we have here on my screen is this little guy. I was just kind of playing around with him and just kind of getting a feel of Tripo's output here. And I just put in an image here. And once I got that image in, I started to play with some of the settings. So let's just kind of generally go over just a few of these settings here. So at the very top here, you're going to have this little key icon. Now this key icon is going, when you click on this, I'm not going to click it because it'll show the APIs I'm using, but this is where you would put your API key for your Tripo account, right? So go to Tripo and put in, or go get your API key, and then you would put that here, and then your credits will show up here, right? And then once you do that, now in this area here, this is where you would see your generation. So we're going to skip this and head over to the right side here where it says generate. You have the ability to do text to 3D. You can do image to 3D. We can do remeshing and texturing. Now there's obviously a bunch of different settings we can play with. You can change the different AI models. You can do different types of inputs. So for instance, if we're texturing, you can do a texture input or image input. Or you can do PBR or just PBR, or you can just have texturing on, right? So what that means is it just won't provide any PBR. You can do a high quality texture if you want to do that. And that sort of thing will increase your credits. So depending on what you choose will determine whether or not your model is going to cost more or less, right? So for instance, if I go to image to 3D and I go from tris to quads, then that's an extra 5 credits, that sort of thing. So it just really depends on what you're going for. And then based on, of course, what we're clicking on here, so image to 3D, we can do multi-image, which is a really nice feature, or you can do a single image. And then you can do tris or quads. You can do smart low or off or on. And I've tried this and it looks pretty good. In terms of just topology and just terms of your mesh coming out, I think it looks really good. Of course, you can do texturing on or off if you want to do that. And you can do high quality or high definition textures. You can do your poly count can be really high. Now, the reason it's only at 8,000 is because we have the smart low on. So if I turn that off, we can go up to, 300,000. So that's pretty high. And then of course you can mix with the model seed or the texture seed, that sort of thing. So I typically leave those alone, but for the most part, that's what's there. Now, once you generate, all of your generation is going to show up here in the history section, right? So in this case, this very first one here, I generated, I basically set the faces to about 30,000. And so it's going to give you a number that's really close to the number that you put for your poly count. So I put about 30,000. It gave me about 28,000, and I did it on quads, right? And so this came out pretty good. I think it's pretty decent considering. And yeah, that looks pretty good. And we can go ahead and turn this off just so you can see what that looks like. Now we can adjust the lighting a little bit and rotate that there and bring that up or down. And you can rotate the lighting as you need here. And then you can also go into wireframe, PBR if you have PBR, or no PBR, or you can just do no texture like that. So, but ultimately, yeah, this looks pretty good. But we're going to go ahead and generate some images right here on the spot. We're not going to only look at this one, but let's go ahead and look at the next one. So this one is one of those low poly ones where I did about 8,000. And so that's kind of what that looks like. It's not too bad. It actually looks pretty good. So I would say, yeah, I mean, so far so good, right, guys? You can use this. I think this is very usable. And then I think I did it again, and this one is about 10,000, but this is using the smart low poly, right? So that looks pretty good too. And I would say that's not bad. So it just depends on your character, depends on how much detail is there. I can see there's definitely room for cleaning up, like getting rid of this up here. But for the most part, that looks really good. It's very usable. So yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and actually start using some actual images right here on the spot to see how it goes. All right, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get an image set up here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in here, click on that there. And I have a few images I just want to just use as a test to kind of see what it's going to do. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and start with a simple thing, the sword. Let's go ahead and use this fantasy sword. We saw a little bit with the troll, but let's actually take a look at the sword here. So I'm gonna pull this sword in, and we have this image here. And so now what I'm going to do is kind of decide what type of settings we need for this sword. Now we're going to do image to 3D. So we have this AI model. I always typically go with the high one, but sometimes you can go lower. You can go with this turbo, but I would say, look, just go with this one. Why not, right? And you can do multi. We only have one image. Topology. Now, this is a personal choice. I like to just go triangle, and I'll show you why, but for now, I'm gonna just go triangle. And for smart poly, I'm gonna leave it off for now. And then for texturing, I think I'll just leave that just on for texturing. And what I'll do is put the HD texture on, right? And then for the poly count, I'm just gonna pop it all the way up, and we're just gonna see what happens and leave it there. So that's gonna leave us with like 40 credits, and let's go ahead and hit generate. All right, great. So now we have our mesh done. Now this is 300,000 faces. Now, remember, we put in 300,000, but the face count came out to be about 274,000. So that's fine, but that's really dense. And that's obviously we're not gonna be able to use this in game, but that's the beauty of being able to reduce this down. So let's go ahead and take this off so we can just see what it produced. And from my thinking, it actually looks, I would say, pretty good. Now, this is a very simple mesh. I'm pretty confident that it can do even better than this or do more complex images. But if you just needed a sword shape and it was a wooden sword, this is perfect and this would work. So let's go ahead and take a look at making this a bit lower poly. So I'm gonna go over here to the right side, and I'm gonna go ahead and click on remesh here. And so now what I'll do is, now we can decide a couple things, right? We can keep it triangle or we can go quad. I'm gonna keep it triangle for now. And I'll go ahead and change the poly count down to something like, for something this simple, let's see, maybe 5,000. I don't know, I think that could work. I'll keep it triangle. We can make the format FB axis, just leave it at that. And we can go ahead and hit generate and kind of see what this guy looks like afterwards. All right, so it looks like it's all done. And this is our 5,000. So 49 4,900 here. So we have 4,900. So that's pretty good. And let's see here. That looks pretty good, right? It's not that different from this one. And so it doesn't really need to be that high quality or high poly. Now, this is really still obviously way too high for something like this. So let's take it a step further and go really low. So let's go with something like 100. Now we're gonna really test it here, and we're gonna we'll just leave it on triangle for now. We'll do 100 and see, let's do 200. Let's see 200. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit generate, and let's see what this output gives us. Let's go back to, so you saw the little message there. It said the remesh works only on the original. So we're gonna have to go from here and bring it down to 200. So let's do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit 200 and let's see how it turns out. All right, so we're all done with that render, and let's go ahead and turn off this. Now, just so you know, the faces say 300 and the poly counts is 300, and that's because I had to switch it to 300 because the lowest you can go is actually 300. So that's fine. So it's not that far off from 200. And I would say that that still looks pretty good. Now that's actually great because we still have the shape of the sword. It still looks like it. It's still textured properly. And that makes it way more usable inside of Unity than anything like, what was it, 4,000, 5,000, and then you have, of course, 274,000. So these all look great, but this one at 300 is really good. Now I want to do one more, and I want to do the quad. Let me take a look and see the quad. So we're going to go back to the 74, the 274, and then click on quad, and we're going to do the 300 and hit generate and see what happens. All right, so that is all done. It's going to give us about 300, so it's 281. And as you can see, it still looks like our sword. There is a little bit of difference, mainly because of the smoothing and the way that triangles and quads work. So, but all in all, that's actually pretty good, and the topology doesn't look that bad either. Now, of course, this being inside of UModeler X, inside of Unity, you can edit this right after you're done, right? So if we wanted to clean this up just a little bit, say you can see kind of this going on here, we can actually edit this and take this directly inside of the scene. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I have this selected. I'm going to click add to scene, and you can see this object is directly in the scene. I'll just go ahead and move this off screen for now. And as you can see, it's here. And it looks not too bad. It is a model, it is a sword, it's a wooden sword, and it's fully textured. But now what's great is, guess what? This is a full UModeler X object. So now you can actually go into this and edit these polygons as needed, whatever you need to do. So say we don't like this part. So I'm just going to head and move that up a little and kind of see, okay, I want to fix this because I don't really want that to be down so low. It's kind of weird, right? So we don't want that like that. So we kind of want to bring this up a little, bring that up, and we can kind of clean that up a little bit. Now, it may not be ideal, right? It's just up to your own personal tastes. But if you just needed to hand this to a enemy or a character, and from this distance, that is completely fine. So yeah, this is great. And as you can see how quickly you can still edit this, this is really, really great. And of course, you can continue to edit this. And look at this. This is awesome. So I'm just going to go into center mode and say I want to kind of do something like this. It looks pretty cool. And say I want to kind of move this in. This is great. And that's the power of being able to edit this directly inside of Unity, because now not only did we use AI to generate the model, right? Now we're going and saying, you know what? I want to make some changes to it. So now I'm kind of going in and doing whatever I need to it. And I can just kind of straighten things out based on what I need. And this will work out perfectly. So yeah, that looks really good. And I love the fact that you can do that. yeah. So other than that, guys, I think that sword, I would call it done. And I would say that sword is ready to go. If we wanted to paint on it, we can do that. I'm not going to do any painting here, but if you wanted to, you can simply go into the paint mode and actually start working with this and adding some additional layering to it. So that's actually pretty easy as well. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and do some more AI generation, but this time we're going to do something much more complicated, a full character, right? So let's see, we're gonna go to image to 3D. Clicking on here, I'm gonna go ahead and select one of these. So of course we had the sword. Let's go ahead and select, let's say we did the troll. You saw what that one looked like. We did the sword. Let's go ahead and do something a bit more realistic. So let's go ahead and pick this realistic anime style character here. I'm gonna go ahead and click open. Image is a little squashed, but that's okay. We know exactly what that is. Now I'm gonna go ahead and choose the AI model here, and I'll leave it at single since we only have one image. I'm gonna put it on triangle because I like to do that first. I'll leave it on off here. We're gonna play with this here in a minute in terms of the smart low so we can kind of see how this happens. And then texturing, I'll leave that on, leave this on, poly count high, good. Everything's good to go. I think this will work. So let's go ahead and generate and see how this plays out. All right, so it looks like our character here or model here has been generated. So far, the silhouette looks accurate. So I would give it that already just by looking. If we look really close, that's how dense it is, and you know that's 300,000, so that's looking good. Let's take this off and get a sense as to what's happening. All right, so I'll go ahead and maybe change this lighting and rotate it a little bit. All right, so that's what our character is looking like. I think for the most part this is looking pretty good. Faces, I would say the texture is a little different, so I would probably change something there, but for the most part this mesh came out great. If you really think about it, look at that. The hands are accurate. You have all the fingers on that hand, all the fingers are there, the belt, the clothing, the details in the this type of garment, right? The dress, skirt, you have the boots, the wrinkles, everything's there. Looks really good. I would say that that's definitely a high quality output. Great. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right. So what we're gonna do now is I'm going to now take this and let's do the same thing, but instead let's change it to a different model. So we've been using 3.0, which I believe is the best option. So let's go to 2.5 and just get an idea as to what the difference may be. So I'm going to change only the AI model and I'll leave the texturing the way it is, all of this stuff here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit generate and let's see how that turns out. All right, so now our 2.5 version of this model is done, and let's take a look here. And so right off the gate, we are seeing a difference. Now let's see what that difference is. All right, so far, the dress is still pretty detailed, right? The clothing is still exactly what you expect. The hands are actually pretty good. We got the right number of fingers. We have the boots. They look exactly like what you would expect. And the texturing looks actually pretty good. I believe the colors are probably a little better on the 2.5 in this example, but I mean, you can adjust this type of stuff, I would say. But for the most part, yeah, that's really still a pretty good output. All right, yeah, so let's go ahead and try to do another character, a little different character. So I'll go ahead and click this image and let's go ahead and do the other style that's similar to her, but he's a little bigger character as a male figure, yeah. And let's go ahead and do image to 3D, We'll keep it on the AI model 3.0. We'll do quads, maybe. We can do quads. Let's try it out. We'll take it off of Smart Poly, right? We'll put it on off, and we'll keep the texturing on. Take the high definition texture off, and let's just go all the way up to the 300,000. And then after this, we'll do a remesh. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and do that. So I'll go ahead and hit generate. All right, so we have our model and the guy is complete. We have a meaner, bigger elf looking character here, and I think it looks pretty good. You guys, I think this looks pretty good. Let's see here. Let's look at this layout here. So this is going to be quads, right? And the quads aren't too bad, right? It looks pretty decent. Obviously, this is really high for, say, using in Unity directly, but it does produce some decent, just decent quality overall. But yeah, I didn't do any textures, so we'll try to go ahead and texture it. But for the most part, that is pretty accurate. Fingers are good. Everything is pretty straightforward there. So what we want to do now is let's go ahead and try to texture our guy and see how that turns out. So we can do the texture with the image, of course. We can do that, or we can do the remesh. Let's see, I think I was going to do remesh, right? So let's go ahead and remesh him first, and let's see what we can get with that. So I'll go ahead and remesh and bring him down to something like maybe like 40,000, because he's at 268. So we can do 40,000, and we'll go ahead and generate that for quads. All right, so it looks like our mesh is done remeshing here. And so that's kind of how it kind of turned out, right? Looking pretty decent. All right, let's see here. Let me take this off. So there's our guy. I mean, really, guys, this is pretty good. I mean, I'd be hard pressed not to use it, especially if there's like an NPC in a game. Let's go ahead and add to scene. So let's just go ahead and hit add to scene. All right, and there's our guy there. This is pretty decent, and we can have it there. There's our sword. If we want, we can go ahead and let's go ahead and put this sword in his hand. It's not really for him, but let's just see. So yeah, I mean, this is what you could do, right? You could use this. This is now his weapon. It's a little big, but you know, it'd be something like that maybe. And now he has a weapon, and from a distance, that would work fine. Yeah. So all in all, I think just by testing, you know, the characters, just kind of looking at some of these here, I think it works pretty well. I think Tripo is an excellent 3D generation tool. And I think being able to have Tripo inside of the UModeler X option works out great. And as you can see, these by each other. Now we're just creating characters, and we can just continue to do this over and over again until we have a whole cast ready to go. So that's actually pretty good. And again, it really just comes down to what? Your image generation. And all I did is really just said, hey, create me a elf style character who lives in a forest, who wears clothes that is representative of a forest with boots on and pointy ears. It created me a female version. Then I said, hey, make the next elf mean and more heavy set. And we got this gentleman here. So, and then you just continue to build on that and go. So this version is really high, so we would have to lower her poly count, of course. But as you can see, it still runs a little fine. It runs pretty good, I think. So. But definitely not for games. I think that's a little high poly. We would want to bring it down to something closer to something like this. And even this, I would say, if I was to go in here, I would really want to do an image to 3D and just do tries with the character. And one of the reasons I like doing tries versus quads with certain objects is you get certain corners better. It kind of reforms the character's silhouette better. And I'll even show you here. So we'll do the same guy here. And this is pretty much 300,000 quads. But if we do the same thing with triangles, let's go ahead and generate that and see how that turns out. I would assume it's going to be a little sharper, maybe it's not so smooth. So let's see. All right, and so now we finished that. So this one is 300,000, and this is the one with the tries. So you can see the details a bit more sharper. The corners of this shawl, I think it's called a shawl. I don't know what these are called, but basically the clothing is sharper. If we look back at this one here, you can see it's a little bit more smooth. It's just a little different versus something like this. And you can just tell. And even sometimes the texturing looks different. I would say that maybe this texture looks better on the face because it's organic, seems to work a little better, it seems, with quads. But it just all depends. Maybe if we use a different model, we would get different outputs. And this is where you would start to kind of like experiment with what is a good output for you. For the model that you're using and how you want to go about it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope that using the UModeler with Tripo is going to be very beneficial to you. I think it will be, personally. I really think it will be. I think using UModeler is great. I mean, I can't say enough things about it. Obviously, if you've been on this channel, I'm obviously a huge UModeler user, and I pretty much use it in every single project that I have. And them releasing this Gen 3D AI tool, when I also started to investigate and started playing with different AI solutions, is a perfect timing for me. And so now with the introduction of Tripo inside of the Gen 3D, I just think it's really good. Tripo produces some really amazing meshes. So you definitely have to check it out. Go get your API code and your key, put it in, and just start testing this thing. I believe Tripo does have like a free plan, so you definitely want to go check it out and use that and see how that works for you. But other than that, you guys, I'm going to have more content and talking about Tripo, talking about UModeler X and AI, and there's so much more to come. So I thank you guys for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.